Hi, everybody. Thanks again for taking part in this and for letting us come into your classroom and talk to you a little bit. As Rachel told you, my name is Matt Hartman. I am the AEOP Learning and Development Manager. That means I get to work on all the cool presentations and worksheets and lesson plans and all the kind of cool stuff that winds up on our website to help you as you are doing eCYBERMISSION and to help your teacher as well. So we're going to be talking today a little bit about coming up with a mission plan. If you've already got ideas for what your project is going to be, that's great. If you don't, we're going to have a chance for you to ask some questions to us and also to some cyber guides that are with us today. We actually have two cyber guides joining us. You might be able to see them on your screen. You might not, I don't know. But we've got Carlos Velez, and he is here from the U.S. Army Aberdeen Test Center. And we've got Tobias from MITRE Corp. He does research and he's a research and development engineer in biotechnology. So we'll give you a chance a little bit later to hear from them about what it exactly is that they do, and also to ask any questions that you might have. So, you know, as we're going through this, if you start thinking about questions that you have, or if you already have questions that you would love to ask to these scientists and engineers, this will be your chance to do that. So go ahead and think about those. And if you think about questions as we're going through, go ahead and write those down so that you don't forget them and you have a chance to ask them a little bit later. All right, so when we're talking about a plan, a mission plan, now we call it a mission plan instead of a project plan because we're eCYBERMISSION and you're working on something called a mission folder. So we call this the mission plan, but you can call it whatever you like. There are a couple different parts to a mission plan, all right? First, you're gonna have your team and your project goals. You're gonna have your team rules, your teamwork and roles, your tasks that you want to complete, and then your timeline about when you want to get this stuff done. So these are the different parts of a mission plan. We're going to go through each of these one at a time. We're going to take a look at each one a little bit more in depth and see kind of what they are all about and how you can come up with them. So the first one is the goals, right? Talk about the team goals. So what you want to think about when you're coming up with your goals is, what is it that you want to accomplish with this project? Why are you doing this? Okay, now maybe why you're doing this is, well, my teacher told me we have to do this. Okay, but put that aside and start to think about the actual project you're working on. What is it that you're trying to accomplish with this project? What are you trying to figure out? What are you trying to learn? So that's going to be in your goals. What does the team want to accomplish? So first, you're thinking about what you individually might want to accomplish. Now think about what does the group and the team want to accomplish together. With eCYBERMISSION, you know, there are different size teams. We have teams of 2, teams of 3, teams of 4. So depending on what size team you have, you might have different numbers of people that are weighing in on what it is that you want to accomplish. And you'll need to talk about that to figure it out all together. Why are you doing the project in the first place? That's one of the things I mentioned earlier. So what is the reason to do this? And what you want to do is come up with at least 3 goals or things that you want to accomplish while you're doing the eCYBERMISSION project. All right. So make those 3 individual goals and then 3 team goals as well. And then you can discuss those and you can figure out, all right, are these all important? Do we want to have this whole list, or do we want to cut some of these out? Are some things more important than others? Should we prioritize, right? Should we say, okay, well, it's more important that we get this thing done than these other 3 things? So think about that as well as you're creating your list of goals. Next is your team rules. All right, so it's always good to have rules in place when you first start. Now, there might be some rules already in place in your classroom, right? You might have certain safety rules that you have to pay attention to. You might have classroom management rules or rules as far as how you're allowed to interact in class, things along those lines. But also think about rules that you want to have in place for your team, right? What rules are important for the team, and why are these rules important? Creating rules just to create rules isn't going to help you. So think about the things that are actually going to help the team. How is it going to improve your teamwork? How is it going to improve your project to have these particular rules in place? If you come up with the rules now, you're going to know what to expect as you go forward. Versus if you kind of wait and you say, oh, well, we'll come up with our rules later, and then things start to fall apart, or things get forgotten, or things get left out, or somebody does something that somebody else doesn't like, that can create problems, and that can actually cause your project to not move forward, right? So if you create your rules at the beginning, you're going to have a much easier time working together as a team. So write these rules down, have them available every time your group meets, all right? So whether it's on a piece of paper that you take with you every time you meet, or whether you put it on your computer, or you email it to everybody, or maybe you share it through a Google Drive, or whatever it might be, have that document available so that you can refer back to it. So if somebody starts doing something that is kind of against the rules, you can go back to it and say, well, hey, remember, we said that we were going to do it this way, so let's make sure we're doing it. But if you find that as you're working, everybody in the team kind of agrees that, hey, this one rule that we had in place doesn't really make sense anymore, then change it, right? You have the ability to do that. You have the power to do that for your team. Now, you don't have the power to do that in your school. You can't change your school's rules or your classroom rules, but you can change the rules that you come up with for your team. So remember, you've got control over this. Now, you also want to think about your role on the team. A lot of times when we start working in groups, we start working in teams, we just all start working on different things, and maybe we're all working on the same thing at the same time or something like that. Think about what are the different types of roles that you could have. Agree on the roles that you're going to need, right? So talk to the other members of your group, whether it's just one other person or 2 or 3 other people, and figure out what types of things do you need to get done. And make sure each team member gets assigned a role. And you could then maybe rotate through those roles. So if you don't want to have, if you don't want to be the person who is writing things down all the time, and maybe you want to say, okay, well, we're going to have a different person write down what happens each time we meet. And then you can sort of rotate through. You can keep track of who's done it when, or maybe there's just one person that's going to do that the whole time. Again, that's kind of up to you. So think about what are some roles that a team might have, right? What are some different things or different jobs that different team members might need to have? And maybe you'll decide in the end that everybody is going to do a little bit of each role. That's totally fine. But if you make sure that you define that early, just like you do with your rules, you're going to find that you have a much easier time moving forward. Think about what actually needs to get done in this project, okay? Start looking at all of the different things that you're going to need to do to get this project done. Now, if you're just starting out, you might not know yet. There might be some things that are going to come up later, and that's fine. But make a list of the things that need to get done that you know about now, and then you can add to that list as you go. Assign team members to each of the tasks, or maybe more than one team member, depending on what that task is. So again, you know what's going on here. And remember, the mission folder has a whole team collaboration section where we're going to ask you about what did the different team members do? What were their roles? How did everybody contribute to this? So if you write all this stuff down as you go, when it comes time to answer that question, it's going to be real easy, because you're going to be able to just copy and paste this stuff straight into that answer with a little bit of an explanation, instead of having to go back and think like, oh gosh, it's February. What were we doing in October? I have no idea, right? You're going to maybe forget that kind of stuff. So start writing those things down now and putting these, like writing down those tasks, writing down the roles that everybody has, writing down the rules. Those are things you're going to be able to use in the mission folder. It's not just to help you get the project done. It's actually part of the project that's going to be scored. So it's really valuable as well. So think about some of the tasks that the team might need to do. Also, think about who's going to remind the team about the different meetings. That's kind of a role. That's kind of a task that you have, right? Just to remind each other, oh yeah, hey, we have to meet at this particular time, at this particular place. We have to get together to do this experiment or to do this testing on our prototype. Who's going to be responsible for each part of the mission folder? right? Who's going to keep track of the data, getting materials ready, taking notes, creating charts and graphs? And again, maybe the answer to this is everybody is going to do a little bit of each of these things. Or maybe there are very specific things that need to be done. You know, maybe as you're preparing for your experiment, well, this person has access to these materials and this person has access to these. So we need to make sure that those people are the ones that get them for us. And maybe sometimes your team advisor or your teacher is going to be involved in this as well. If they're the one that has to get you the particular things, or maybe get a space for you to meet in, or maybe you're just doing this in class. In that case, hey, figuring out when your meetings are is going to be super easy. Create a schedule of what it is you want to do. This is a very important part of your mission plan. Creating that schedule now, once again, at the beginning, is going to really help you as you go through. So you can actually look at different due dates for each individual part of the mission folder and for each individual task that needs to be completed. And one of the things that can help you with this is on our website, we actually have some timelines created for you. We've got one for science, we've got one for engineering. You can take a look at that and decide, oh, does this fit what we're doing? How much time do we have? These links are on here. I know you can't click on these right now, but if you go to the eCYBERMISSION website and you go into the student section, and then you go to the Student Help Center, you'll see that there's a section for science, if you're doing a science project or scientific investigation, and there's a section for engineering, if you're doing an engineering project. And within those sections, that's where you're going to find these timelines. You're also going to find the rubrics that the judges actually use to score these mission folders, which means you can use those rubrics, look at those and compare what you're working on and say, oh, okay, are we going to get all the points for this particular section? So look at those rubrics, look at those timelines to help guide you in what it is you're doing and how you are doing it. All right, so those are the basics of a mission plan. All right, those are great things to have done in advance. And again, like I said, you're going to be able to put all of that stuff into your mission folder in the team collaboration section. And if you do, you're going to get some good points out of that section. That's a great way to improve your score on your mission folder. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to actually turn it over to one of our cyber guides. I'm going to turn it over to Carlos. I'm going to let Carlos tell you a little bit about what it is that he does, his career a little bit, and then we'll hear a little bit from Alex. So Carlos, take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Velez. I work in Aberdeen Proving Ground, and we are located in Maryland. My current job consists in performing software testing on military equipment. So we test every single tank or robots that the soldiers or anybody from the military will use in the future. My team consists in a whole bunch of engineers. We have mechanical engineers, computer, electric engineers, other scientists like me, and we also have mathematicians. So my background is I have a master's degree in telecommunications. So I used to do a lot of networking. And I also have another master's degree in computer science. So that's why I chose this job, because I can mix both of them and just combine everything, like all my knowledge, into test all the military equipment.
Thank you, Carlos. That's awesome. Can you tell, why did you decide to take a job with the U.S. Army?
Well, I used to be a soldier, so I did 5 years in the military. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I always wanted to know, how did the people come up with all the systems that the soldiers use? So that's why I applied. I started as an intern And then after 6 months, they offered me a job, and I took it right away because I really want to help the current soldiers out there in the battlefield.
Very cool. And so does everybody that works in your lab, were all of them soldiers? Do you have to be a soldier in order to work in your lab?
No, only 2 of us are ex-military. Everybody else came in either with no experience, or they started as a contractor and then turned into a civilian, military civilian.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Carlos. Appreciate
No
that.
problem.
And we'll open this up in just a few moments here for questions. So I'm sure some of the students will have some questions for you. But we're going to turn it over now to Alex, and we're going to let Alex tell you a little bit about what he does. Go on, Alex.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Tobias, and I'm a research and development engineer specializing in biotechnology. So biotechnology is a really exciting field where we use living systems to make useful things for people. And the specific part of, so those things could be drugs or food ingredients, materials or precursors to materials. The specific kind of biotechnology I do, we call it synthetic biology. And what that's all about is using DNA. And DNA is an information storage medium, just in a lot of ways, just like a USB thumb drive for a computer. So we use computers a lot together. We can design our DNA molecules in the computer, and then we can like order DNA online, kind of like you might order stuff from Amazon and get DNA sent to us. And then we'll put that DNA into organisms, bacteria or yeasts usually, sometimes fungus. And those are kind of like loading apps onto your iPhone. Like if the phone is the bacteria and the DNA we put in is like the app. And so we can get our organism to do something new, something that it never did before, maybe make a new molecule, or maybe breathe differently, or maybe sense something that like a poison in a river, and if it finds it, to light up or make itself turn green. So so it's an exciting field. I also, before this job, I was also an Army civilian. I think like Carlos, for 5 years, I was at the Army Research Laboratory, and I also live in Maryland. But 4 or 5 months ago, I joined MITRE Corporation in Northern Virginia. But it's not, MITRE is not like a normal company, because almost all of MITRE's work is for the federal government. So in a lot of ways, it's still pretty similar to working for the government.
Awesome, Alex. Thank you so much. So what would you say is that you can tell us about? What is the most exciting project that you've worked on regarding biotechnology?
Okay, yeah, well, the first thing I want to say is the project I'm working on now. I think ideally the most exciting thing is what you're doing now, and that is pretty exciting to me, because it really puts together biology and computers and computer networks, and even stuff like Bitcoins, or what we call it Web3 and NFTs, which some of your students might know about. We're trying to put all those things together to make a giant computer network that would let people all over the world do biotechnology projects, like work on the same project no matter where they are, whatever country they're in, whatever time zone, and whatever resources they have. And so we want to create a system that makes it really clear what everybody's doing, and that everyone's like doing the same things, and whenever they generate data, that it goes into the same place and it can be used by all the other team members, things like that. So that's one really cool thing. And then the other one I wanted to mention was just when I worked at DuPont, which was a very big company that did chemicals and materials, and also a lot of biotechnology. And I got to be part of a very big team there, over 100 people on the same project. And what we were doing, and we almost were successful, was trying to replace all the ethanol that's in our country's gasoline. So our gasoline has an additive in it, about 10 to 15%. Ethanol, it's an alcohol molecule. That's the same alcohol that's in like beer and wine and stuff. and that's in our gasoline, and that comes from, in our country, comes from where you guys are. If you guys are in Iowa, then you know really well what I'm talking about. And we were reshaping the yeast that make ethanol so that they would make a little different alcohol molecule called butanol, which blends better into gasoline and has more energy value. So we were really doing a lot of engineering to the yeast, to its DNA, and to to its metabolisms, changing the way it processes that starch, and rerouting it from going to ethanol to going to the new molecule butanol. And we made a lot of butanol, and we were pretty successful, but we couldn't quite hit the low enough price to make it dominate the marketplace.
Very cool. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. I'm sure on that team of 100, you must have had some pretty good mission plans, some roles, and some timelines, and some goals that you had to fill, right?
Yes, it's very important to keep a team like that organized, and for everyone to be clear what their mission is and how it fits into the bigger mission.
Excellent. All right. So at this point, what we would like to do is sort of open this up to questions that you, the students, might have. They can be questions about your projects. They can be questions about having a mission plan and organizing your teams. They can be questions about the different careers you just heard about from our CyberGuides here. They can be questions about eCYBERMISSION in general that myself or Rachel may be able to answer. So whatever questions you may have, we would like to give you the chance to ask those questions now.
And Mr. Bourne, I just wanted to clarify, what time is class change, just so I make sure we don't go over? 4:15 or 3:15 your time? Okay, perfect. All right, so I will keep an eye on the clock.
Yeah, no, thank you. Bell will ring for us about right at 3:15. And
Perfect.
These guys won't be too antsy, even though it's Friday, so I know they're ready to go home too for the weekend. But what we've talked about leading up to today, because obviously, yeah, it's new to us. We're venturing into it, giving it a try. Oh my gosh, sorry. Didn't want to blow your eardrums out with the announcement.
It takes me back to the golden days.
Yep. But so what we had them do going into today, and I knew you guys are going to preface and talk about eCYBERMISSION itself. They came up with some questions regarding their particular projects that we've kind of started moving forward on, but definitely we'll say everything is a work in progress, and some have just some general questions on who they can maybe reach out to, and if even what they're doing is a good, plausible problem to investigate and to continue to work towards. But with that being said, which group? As soon as I rotate over my shoulder, you'll see all of them off to the side. And or if I rotate over this side.
I love it.
So they are here. I'm not just teaching 3 kids that are stuck behind me. We do have 19 students in this room. There are groups of 3 with the exception of one group of 4. And so trying to figure out those dynamics and things like that is what they've been working through too on, working together and accomplishing this task. But with that being said, who's going to be our first brave soul, and what question do they have?
Not me.
Kennedy, what do you have? Oh, hold on. She's got to find her thing.
I love it. Kennedy, yes. Snaps.
Okay, everybody else be quiet, please, so they can hear her and we can hear them. We did start some organization where they have their own binders where they're keeping track of all their research, and they're starting to try to get some things going. I'll give them 1 second here. Go ahead. Hey, we have a little time.
Hey, just let me go. I ain't gonna do that.
Here everybody ask one and we'll see what we can go from.
Here, I'll do it. Wait, do I have to ask?
Just ask the question your main one that you want.
What's our main one? The first one. That one. No, because this isn't about eCYBERMISSION. This is about the.
That's fine, about your project.
They don't know our project though.
That's what you're gonna ask them.
Okay. Oh my God. All right.
Kennedy.
All right. So we're making this like robot thing. So like during school shootings, you can just take that out and you can control it around the school, so you can find out where the shooter is and no kid or anybody gets hurt. But so like one of our things is we don't know how to control, well, not control it, but like how to get upstairs and stuff. And like, do we put something at his feet that to make it look like it's walking, or like, I don't really know.
So what they're investigating is, can they create some AI as more of a decoy and or usefulness during like lockdown situations and things like that for schools. And so they're trying to figure out how would the prototype look and how to make it realistic and yet usable, feasible, and kind of by whom. So I don't know who could field that or who maybe they should be asking.
Yeah, awesome. If either of our cyber guides have any experience or want to answer that, I encourage you guys to. I promise you have more experience than me.
I can start, and maybe Carlos has some ideas too. Okay, so first it is. I think that's a great idea, but it is kind of sad that our kids feel like, that this is a big enough problem in their world that they need to be thinking about it. So I encourage you guys, to keep a positive attitude, and maybe also think about that your robots could, have other uses. A lot of the technology can do many things. So maybe the first thing, I don't know if you've done it, but if you Google around just like robots that climb stairs, I just did it. I've seen a bunch of images, and it might help you to realize that like a robot doesn't have to, look like a person. It doesn't have to even have legs and arms necessarily. In fact, maybe sometimes it might look more like an army tank, with the tracks that they use. So maybe get some inspiration from some videos and pictures online. There's even stuff of robots climbing stairs, maybe something that if it fell over, it wouldn't really matter. Maybe there's not even really an up or down to the robot, right? Maybe it can operate no matter what position it's in. Think about a little bit outside the box that way. So that's maybe, I think that you could get inspiration from some things that are out there for climbing stairs, and then I don't know, maybe other aspects of the robot. I think that for your project, the judges, I've done a lot of judging, right? I probably judged more than 100 folders over the last 5 years. We do really love it when teams do build something real, even if it's just gets you part of the way. You don't have to, and you can just design stuff on paper or in software, or even make a cartoon or a video of your robot. All that's cool. So you could also, you want to decide on like a small aspect of this robot that you want to work on. So maybe it's the climbing stairs, or maybe it's a robot that can listen for shots and then locate where the gunshots are coming from. Maybe it has several microphones on it, and it can use, its software to think. Because I know that actually there are some cities I'm aware of in this country that have microphones on different street corners. And they bought these systems that companies made, and they use those whenever there's a gunshot. The police can know very quickly where it came from because of that technology. So maybe you want to equip a school with a lot of microphones, or maybe the robots got them so it can find where the shots are coming from and get over to that part of the school as quick as possible. I mean, I do like the idea, right? If a robot was actually able to, let's say, deal with a school shooter and keep other people safe, because even if the robot got hit or damaged, it's still just a robot. Or maybe there could be 100 of these robots in the school, and they could just like overwhelm whoever they might need to, right? It doesn't have to be just one. So yeah, you've got a lot of great things going on there. So I would just pick like a particular aspect that you want to work on. And the judges, they love to see a lot more than just words on a page. So I encourage you, if you're building something, take good pictures of it, take videos of it. If you're just designing something and you can't build it, show us the drawings and the diagrams, or make a cartoon video and show us that. Anything you can do to make it more exciting for a judge rather than reading words on the page, and you get a lot more points.
You want
So,
me to
thank
tell
you.
them what like we have right now?
No, we're gonna pause there. We'll go to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we got another group coming up. Well, one representative of the group. We'll go with that. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Hi. Has anyone done anything with like ferrofluid, like in eCYBERMISSION?
He wants to know if anybody else, have you guys had anybody else deal with anything within ferrofluids? Because Briar, go ahead and kind of explain what you guys are trying to do or what they have researched so far.
We're trying to like put something in the water, like a submarine kind of, with like ferrofluid and like this thing that attracts plastic, like a magnet, so that it will attract plastic in the ocean and like kind of help with the ocean cleanup. So
Awesome. I know that we've had last year, I believe that there was a winning project on microplastic pollution. So I know that that was done. I don't think that that was done with ferrofluids though. I'm not sure if Carlos, if you have any experience working with ferrofluid or anything like that, or Alex, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of projects that have the topic of cleaning up water or cleaning up trash in water, bodies of water or waterways. I've seen a lot of that. I've personally never seen one with ferrofluid. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been one, because I think there's thousands of folders every year, and a judge might even in a busy year for me, I might only see 25 or 30 folders. So out of the 100 or 120 that I've seen, I haven't seen one with ferrofluids. So that sounds promising. But the plastics aren't magnetic generally. So I think the judge is going to want to see like that you've put in some thought, or there's some kind of science basis for how it would actually work to grab plastic.
Carlos, do you have anything to add?
Well, I know that there is a lot of information, especially on YouTube, where you can find a lot about ferrofluids. But a concept like that can be implemented really easy with just some kind of robotic boat. Well, I know that you wanted to do like something submersible. That's gonna be a little bit different and maybe a little bit difficult as well. But if it's something where you can pinpoint with some kind of sensors and then implement the ferrofluids, that'd be awesome. I'm gonna look more into that just to see if I can suggest something else, some more information.
Awesome. And Mr. Bourne, I would recommend any of your students, because I know we're running out of time. We do have the message board that is new this year, and all of our cyber guides have access to answer those questions, especially as Carlos said that he would be able to research more and maybe give a more detailed answer. So I would encourage the students to also post on the message board. I'm not sure if you want to try and ask one more. I know it's about 3:10 there. It's up to you.
Do we have one more group has a quick question they would like to know? Hey, hold on. Okay, yeah, we'll try to make this one quick. Go ahead.
Say we had a water filter in a gutter. Where would we like put the filter at in the gutter? Like the very bottom, the slant, the top? We don't know.
Their quick basis, about 10 seconds. They are investigating utilizing rainwater, recycling / filtering it and utilizing actually within the whole house. And so they've got a solar system set up to heat the gutters for the winter to keep collecting rainwater, but then they want to filter it before they bring it into the house and then utilize it. So yeah, they're just questioning on like where for their process, what might be the best placement of some of these materials and things.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I would say, it's an important part of, an engineering project or, I don't know, eCYBERMISSION engineering design folder to, do some tests and make a prototype if you can and do some tests on it and get data and use your data or your results to improve your design. So if you're able to, it'd be wonderful if you could test 3 or 4 placements for your filter device and let the answer just come to you from the results you get. So I could recommend something, but I kind of feel like it would be more exciting if you discover the answer for yourself by trying it. Is that realistic?
Awesome. Thank you. That's great advice. Carlos, do you have anything to add?
Yes. That's a great idea. We have there are like a problem there. For example, if you're gonna implement some kind of pumping system in order to divert the water into a filtering system, well, then you can put the pump anywhere pretty much. But if you want to rely into gravity to do the work, that filtering system had to be taking water from higher elevation. But yeah, like Alex said, part of the scientific method is just to have a possible hypothesis and then just do the work, and then you will find out which one is better.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. And I know y'all are about to wrap up for the day. And I really want to thank you guys for coming in. And please, again, use the message board. I know that we didn't get a chance to answer even half the questions. So if you guys post on there, I will make sure to send out a message to all of our cyber guides and remind them to answer those. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and this has been insightful for you guys.